Dr. Ms. Keisha Buckley, if you'll come at this time. She's going to do our welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Keisha Buckley, a proud graduate of SLPS, class of 1987, an alumni of Vashon High School, and a lifelong supporter of St. Louis Public Schools. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this school board candidate forum. We are grateful to have you here tonight as we come together as a community to hear from the candidates seeking to represent us and make important decisions for our schools and students. Our schools are the foundation of our community, and the leadership we choose for the school board will shape the future of education for our children. Our students deserve strong advocates, and our educators and families need leaders who believe in the power of public education. By being here today, you are proving that you are ready to stand in the gap, listen, and lead. Your willingness to serve our students, families, and staff speaks volume about your commitment. This forum provides an opportunity for everyone to learn more about the candidates, their visions, priorities, and how they plan to address the challenges and opportunities facing our schools. We truly appreciate the candidates for being here to share their perspectives, engage in this important discussion. We also thank each of you in the audience for taking an active role in this forum. An informed community makes for stronger schools, and your participation is a crucial part of this process. Let's continue to work together to ensure every SLPS student, family, staff member have the opportunities and resources they deserve. As we begin, let's ensure a respectful and productive dialogue, allowing each candidate the opportunity to speak and answer questions. We look forward to an insightful and engaging discussion. Again, welcome and thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen J. Hill, and it is my privilege to welcome you to the St. Louis Public School Board Candidate Forum. I serve as first Vice President of AFT Local 420, and have been a music teacher and director of bands of the St. Louis Public Schools for 43 years. This evening, we have a significant opportunity to hear directly from the individuals seeking to represent our schools, students, colleagues, and the broader community. Public schools are the cornerstone of our city's future, and the leadership we elect to the school board is essential in shaping that future. This forum is designated to provide parents, educators, students, and community members with the opportunity to learn about each candidate's vision, priorities, dedication to success of the St. Louis Public Schools. We encourage respectful dialogue and thoughtful engagement as we listen to the candidates discuss their perspectives on the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Thank you for being here tonight, for your commitment to public education, and for ensuring that every voice in our community is heard. Now, before we move forward, I'd like to introduce a man that is the leadership, the head of AFT 420. It has been my privilege to serve as its first vice president and to represent the members of St. Louis Public Schools. So he's going to be with us virtually. Can we please have a round of applause for President Raymond Cummings?
First, I must thank God for all the blessings of my life. My name is Ray Cummings. I'm the current president of the American Federation of Teachers, St. Louis Local 420. On behalf of Local 420 and our numerous community hosts listed in this evening's program, I say good evening and welcome to our forum. The purpose of this forum is to give our community the opportunity to hear from the candidates running to be members of the St. Louis Public School Board of Education on a wide variety of topics. It is the belief that 420, that the rebirth of the city will involve educating the next generation of young people. In order to do that, we need a school board that will do what is in the best interest of our community rather than various special interest groups. SLPS, Local 420, and the community exists in a symbiotic relationship, a term of German origin meaning living together with mutual benefit to all parties. Thus, it is important to have the best possible members of our community who volunteer their time to serve on our school board. Those of us who live and breathe democracy, it does not get any better than participating in democratically run public school processes. You, the voters, will decide who sits on our board. Local 420's Committee for Political Education, chaired by Dr. Charles, will be listening attentive today because they have to recommend to our executive board whose 420 should endorse. I would like to introduce the trailer for the movie Backpack Full of Cash, a movie that chronicles how education reform leads to growing privatization of public schools. Those of you that have been listening carefully to the Trump administration, he has made it perfectly clear going forward, him and other millionaires like him will be pushing school choice and also, no matter what, even at the expense of public schools. So now we know the line has been drawn. So let's have a great time this evening. Now we'll have a backpack full of cash. And if you look at the program, you will notice that there may be a QR code in there that will take you to where you can view the movie for free. Thank you very much.
The vision of American education, the school that would be open to the rich and poor alike, that institution is endangered.
Public schools represent over $600 billion a year of government spending. Reformers say all that money can be managed more efficiently if the system is run like a business and parents shop around for the school of their choice.
This is about choice, accountability, providing a great education to every child.
Our children have a backpack full of cash, and the school should vie for the privilege of having that backpack turned over to them.
The district's money is being shifted to charter schools.
They've become aggressive and entrepreneurial.
How is it possible to cut anymore? This is serious.
The public simply doesn't understand that their public schools are being taken away.
They are robbing our kids! It was about privatizing, not improving public education.
What's desperately unfair is to pretend that that's public education. It's absolutely not. It's an opportunity to be on islands of privilege amidst a sea of inequity.
Schools that receive taxpayer dollars purport that men and dinosaurs gathered together.
The Bible says spanking a child won't kill them, if you do it right.
In online schools, it'd be 40% savings to taxpayers.
There's no high-quality research that shows that this is a good method of teaching and learning.
My daughter spent 30 days just taking standardized tests.
I've sat through those classes. I could barely sit still for 42 minutes. They're asked to do it for 12 years.
SOS, save our school!
What has happened in this city is morally bankrupt.
We are leaving our children out in the dark.
We're here to support all children, and you're not serving that diversity.
If you provide enough resources to a school district and you help that district use those resources wisely, you get these improbable and fantastic scholars.
I need a fully funded public education simply because I deserve it.
This is our challenge.
Speak up, act up. History will judge us by what we do now.
Okay, thank you all for coming out. I'm Jamala Rogers. I am representing the Organization for Black Struggle tonight. We are one of the sponsoring organizations for this event. I am a product of public schools. I am a former member of Local 420, and the Organization for Black Struggle is an unflinching, unwavering, unconditional supporter of public schools. So that's why we're here. I'm also here to provide some ground rules for us for tonight, because I know sometimes our enthusiasm boils over, and it boils over to a way that could be disrupted. The folks that are on this stage today are our invited guests. And so we expect them to be treated that way, whether we agree with them or not. And I would say even when we agree with them and we want to applaud, that we keep that to a minimum, because we're under very strict time restraints. And every time we pause to clap, let's just clap one time if we really like somebody what they say. Or do the sign, okay? Because we need to keep it moving, because they have limited time for each question, and we want to hear what they have to say. The focus, you all, is up here. So we want to restrict any sidebar conversation so that our neighbors don't miss what's being said. Be respectful for those in the audience as well as those on the stage. This is a sobering time for us, y'all. But I can think of no better way to keep us focused than on our children and their education. Thank you for coming out and let's work for a better future for our children today.
As Ms. Porter comes up, I just want to add a little bit. This is a respectful engagement, fair and equal participation, audience conduct, candidate responses, and the moderator's role. Even as the moderator, I will facilitate the discussion fairly and ensure that all candidates have their position and opportunity to speak. If necessary, please remember that the audience members and candidates, our decorum guidelines maintains a professional atmosphere. We will not tolerate any yelling or screaming. We will be dismissed. You will be walked out the building. We have to make sure that we get this done, because the community doesn't deserve any drama. We deserve some peace and some answers to the questions. So let's continue to work together to build a brighter future. Ms. Porter?
Thank you. My name is Denise Porter, and I am an instructional care assistant at Ashland Elementary School, as well as the building steward there. I have worked in St. Louis Public Schools for over 10 years and have been loyal and passionate and committed to it. Tonight I will give a summarization, a brief summarization on 2 reports referring to how our schools are performing from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The first report, Annual Performance Review, and the second will be on comprehensive schools. The following are facts that can be verified by visiting the Department of Education, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, also known as DESE. Visit their website. The Annual Performance Review. St. Louis Public Schools Annual Performance Review is conducted as part of the Missouri School Improvement Program. The review provides a detailed look at how a district is performing in critical areas, highlighting successes and identifying opportunity for growth. The annual performance review evaluates districts on their performance in several categories, including academic achievement, student readiness, graduation rates, attendance, and continuous improvement. A maximum of 200 points can be earned across all of these categories. 140 points earned for performance and 60 points for continuous improvement. Results. St. Louis Public Schools saw its overall Missouri School Improvement Score rise from 2022 at 63.8%, and 2023, 63.2%, to 65.7% this year. Comprehensive schools. A comprehensive school is a school in which is among the lowest 5% of schools receiving Title I funds. Or it is a high school with an average 4-year adjusted cohort graduation rate less than 67% over a period of 3 years. Results? The following 10 SLPS schools are no longer part of DESE's 23-24 school year list of comprehensive schools. However, we still have much work to do. The schools: Carver Elementary School, Columbia Elementary School, Humboldt Elementary School, Jefferson Elementary School, Merrimack Elementary School, Nance Elementary School, Peabody Elementary School. Middle school: Gateway Elementary. High schools: Roosevelt High School and Sumner. Think tonight about how we can all work together with public school stakeholders to help St. Louis Public Schools continue to thrive at greater and greater levels of achievement. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Nelva Brooks, and I serve as a secondary teacher of multilinguals in St. Louis Public Schools. There, many of my students attend classes despite their fears of being snatched by ICE. They have this fear of being snatched by ICE agents at school or coming home from school to an empty home where families are upended by a mass deportation order. And I am very concerned about our students' safety and legal rights being upheld should the worst happen. These young heroes and heroines embody the values of justice, compassion, selflessness. Although tender in age, they stand up for what is right. Their stories are testaments to the transformative power of youth activism and the boundless potentials that lie within every child. We would do well to draw inspiration from their examples and support our next generation as they and we do the work to create a brighter, more just world for all. Will you stand with me to create such environments? If you believe in your heart that you will, here are a few tips for you. Our schools need to be on heightened alert to any bullying of immigrant students and tap into the skills of social workers, school counselors, and nurses who can provide much needed social and emotional support, such as coping strategies. And if you are here and you're a teacher, be vigilant to a child's anxiety over an uncertain future. The students could be very quiet, they may act out or feel unusually sick. And as for our families, you should create a family immigration emergency plan and consider the tips that are offered by the American Federation of Teachers and immigration experts. Thank you for your time this evening. All right. Raise your hand. Don't just tell me you understand. Raise your hand if you say you agree with me that our students need to be protected from, oh, there you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you for answering that question, because actually 3 people kind of sent that question up there already. So everybody wants to make sure safe space. So that was really good. We're going to get right into it. We have Miss Foster on Zoom, and there's still some feedback here. We have Ms. Foster on Zoom, and we're going to let the panel that are here answer the questions, and then we'll bring her in at the end of each question. Is that okay, Ms. Key? That's okay? Okay. We did invite all candidates, and we understand, like a lot of you have said as you come in, that there are 2 forums today. Most of them did agree to come, except one. They did agree to come, and I do understand their position and their place. So but we appreciate this hard-working panel up here that did make it, and for that, so that you all can hear their voices. And thank you all again for coming. First question. You all will have 2 minutes for this first question. We would like for you to give a 60-second or something about yourself and what you're doing, and then answer the question with that, okay? So your first question would be, do you believe that a child can read on grade level by only reading at school? As you answer that, relate that to how you learned how to read. Ms. Atkins, we're going to go right in order.
If I understand the question correctly, do I believe that children can read outside of the school?
Yeah, do you think reading can only be taught and you can advance only in the class?
No. Reading, well, of course, can be taught, it is taught in the classroom. Children usually begin to read somewhere between the ages of, remarkably, 3.5 years old, 4, and 6. And that is the actual beginning phase, the developmental process to be able to acquire language and then be able to decipher the letters and sounds. And I don't want to give a reading lesson as a teacher. But all reading doesn't happen in the classroom. Reading can happen anywhere in the environment. It happens in the home, it happens in the car, it happens at the grocery store. For example, if you're driving in the car and you see the sign Burger King, they can actually learn to say what those letters are and actually be able to explain what it means. They learn in everything that they do. Reading is in everything that we do. It's in math, science, social studies, every process that we have in education. But parents play a vital part of that. They are an extension of what happens in the classroom, and they reinforce what teachers teach in the classroom. And how did I learn to read? I learned to read, well, my mother was a teacher, and I also did this with my daughter later on. I learned to read by seeing everything that involved letters in every process and everything that I ever did as a child, and then continuing as a mom to be able to teach my daughter to do the same thing. I'll give you a perfect example, then I'm going to pass the microphone off. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I probably missed the introductions. I sat in traffic and couldn't time that. I'm Dr. Karen Collins Adams. I am a retired twice now from Louisiana system and the Missouri system educator, and spent most of my career, I spent 40 years total, but most of my career in administration, in either special education, very many years as an elementary principal and a high school principal, and then later on in central office, and then my career extended beyond the K-12 environment to university level. I was adjunct professor and recently the project director at St. Louis University.
Thank you. Please introduce me. Thank you. That's your time. You all can hear that. That's going to be your time.
My name is Brian H. Marston, and I think reading starts at home, and it starts early, in the best case. I have 2 kids who are St. Louis Public School students, and both of them, by the time they were in 4th grade, were reading beyond the 12th grade level, and it's because my wife and I read to them every day when they were little babies. So by the time they were 3 or 4, we didn't teach them to read, we just read to them, and they taught themselves to read. So by the time they entered school, they could already read. And I know, I'm fortunate to be in a position where I'm a 2-parent household and a college graduate. My wife is also. Our house is full of books, and I know that's not the case for everyone, but I think it's really important to have early childhood education programs, especially for literacy, because it's so important because first you learn how to read, and then you read to learn. So, and you know, if you're not a strong reader, it makes it harder to pick up the other subjects. Am I just answering the question, or I'm giving an intro to the question? All right, covered. All right.
I'll just repeat the question because Miss AJ didn't hear it. Miss AJ, when you come on, please introduce yourself and let us know if reading, if children can benefit reading only in the classroom, how else can they benefit, or is that the only way that they can benefit from reading? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Good evening, and I am really excited about being here, and I think I'm going to like the structure of the forum, because in the normal candidates forum, all we do is answer a question that's already written down. It really doesn't give you a sample or let you get into our head to see the type of person we are and how we think. And I think this forum is going to give you an opportunity to really know each person that's sitting up here talking about leading this school district. So I want to thank Local 420 for their efforts of putting this on, and especially you for being here. Yes, the way I attended St. Louis Public Schools my whole life. I graduated 5 kids from St. Louis Public, 1 in the alternative program. I even went to Vashon and went up to one of the 12th grade classrooms to listen to the children read. And I cried. 12th grade, they couldn't complete a sentence. I was fortunate because I too was raised in a 2-parent household, and something that we must have had when I was coming up was a library card. Every child in this city should have a library card, because we just can't depend and leave it upon the school to learn our children. If you go to the libraries now, they're packed with kids. What are they doing? They're playing games on the computer. So yes, children can learn to read at grade level at school, but I think the household, the parents have to help that child throughout the learning process. You never stop learning. You never stop reading. I read every newspaper that comes to this city because of the training and the way I was brought up about reading is fundamental. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Monroe, and I'm here. That was a question asked at the beginning regarding the safety and security of our children. And nobody responded to it. No one responded to it. My name is Bill Monroe. I'm a former St. Louis police officer. And that question kind of caught me off guard because we're not protecting our children in our schools as we should. And the most recent incident that happened, well, we lost 2 people, 2 human beings. And we could have done better. Our security could have done better. Our police department could have done better, because there was many, many telltale signs about this individual and how bad he was, and how the security saw him climb over a fence and they ran. We failed our children. So we're going to have to bring this level of security for our children in these classrooms. We have to bring it up. And the other question that you had was reading. And I think I grew up in a Pentecostal home, my mom and dad. And they read the Bible all the time. I'm not complaining. But they did a lot of Bible reading. And I can say that probably my mother and dad and that training I received in that household helped me. And I graduated from Sodan High School in January of '64. And then I went into the military. And I was trying very hard to escape Vietnam. And when I came back, I went to another Vietnam and I joined the St. Louis Police Department. Our children in this community, we're in trouble. And the key is not the National Guard. The key is not the governor bringing the Missouri Highway Patrol in on our kids. The key is right here in this building. Education, skills, and job training. Is that supposed to? I better stop because I've been banned. I'm glad to be here tonight, though.
I said at the beginning, I'm Terry Powers, by the way, 4th Ward. Was the 24th, and I was the Democratic Committee woman there for 10 years. St. Louis City product, proud graduate of Roosevelt High School, very active in my alumni association, and went on to get a bachelor's in education, a master's in clinical social work, and postgraduate work from the Psychoanalytic Institute called the Applied Psychodynamic Psychoanalytic Program. Being involved in politics, I found my psychoanalytic training made me a bit uncomfortable because I could see through people. And I could tell you which were public servants, dedicated with integrity and compassion, and which were using this rung in the ladder for the next step up. And I still can see that. My concern, as Matt Damon brought out in his documentary, this is a nationwide problem. It began in the late 60s with white flight and people wanting their kids in sanitized environments, not necessarily for educational, academic reasons. I wrote my first political letter to the then mayor of St. Louis City when he was all about building the arch and didn't back the school bond issue. And I think, how many of us are voting? Can I see hands? Seriously. He votes twice, watch him. I voted today, and I will be voting again in the general. But I stay on top of stuff. I have friends, even a friend in Canada, that go to a page I have on Facebook because I share political news. So I'm invested. I've got the credentials to be effective in the school system. And I differ with wanting more police and more security. I want more discipline. And the root meaning of that word is to teach. Help children identify what they're feeling. Help them learn how to control. Am I out of time? Thank you, God, for the word.
I'm going to set this mic back there because it should be on this side, and then this mic is going to come this side.
Hello. Okay, I am Tony Cousins. I'm currently serving on the school board. This is my 4th year. I am a community engaged person. I've built over 200 homes within the north corridor of the city. I've rehabbed about 300 homes and implemented several programs within the north corridor. I am a product of St. Louis Public School as well, I can say that. What I want to say in regards to the question that you asked is absolutely it takes reading, not just in the schools, but in the home as well, but the community also. A child cannot just learn how to read in school, but they also need the support of the community as a whole. The way that we have been taught how to read completely has changed compared to the need of now in this generation. We were taught the old way, in my opinion, how to sit down, open up the book or look at this letter or look at that letter. in the beginning. What we've learned and what we're doing now is bringing new initiatives within the district. That's why you see that we brought Literacy for the Little into that space. And that's not just about the teachers having the responsibility to teach our children, but that's also getting the community engaged as well as the parents and teaching them and showing them the new way to be and
First and foremost, I give thanks. My name is Tavon Brooks. Originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I left the States at a very young age. My mother decided to marry a Navy guy who moved to Israel, where I was educated in music and public relations. I returned back to America because my son was born in 2009. He's 15 years old now. I returned back to America. I was planning to go back to Israel to finish and get my master's, but I just couldn't let my son stay here by himself without a father. But one thing I learned in the comparison when it comes to Israel and to here, and to answer your question, yes, the children can learn other than school how to read. It starts at home. And one thing that I learned living abroad and living here is that we kind of forget the fundamental basis of a family. If a family, if it's not in whole, if it's not together, there's no way a child can actually leave their home and go to school and learn anywhere else. So one of the things I've learned in Israel is it was a family, it was a community involved, public, full service community school where the families were involved in the school. The fathers were there, the mothers were there. So when the child got out of order, you had the entire community fathers was going to get you. So very few act out. And that's what we're missing here. So the wraparound services that come with forest service community schools is what we need here. The forest service community schools, the ability to address our mental state and our families. Our families are struggling. And we need all the resources that we can give to our children. So in order for our children to be able to learn and be able to read at home peacefully, they can go to school. There was a scientist, a Japanese scientist that said, oh man.
We're gonna chime in to Ms. Foster and let her answer. Every question after this will only be 1 minute.
Hi, are you able to hear me? Okay, great. Hello everybody, my name is AJ Foster. I am a current resident of Ward 6 in St. Louis, born and raised, graduated from St. Louis Public School District through and through, from elementary to high school. Went on to get my bachelor's in Black Studies and Psychology, Criminal and Juvenile Justice. I have worked in the classroom with pre-K 3 all the way through 12th grade, and currently work at an education nonprofit focused on digital equity for student and adult learners. From what I understood the question to be is if I believe children can only benefit from reading inside the classroom. And I think absolutely not. I think children can benefit from reading in and outside of the classroom, so both informal and informal spaces. It's not about when children are reading, but it's about how frequently they're reading and who's introducing reading content to them. And so it's important to really think about when we are reading with kids, are we meeting them at their level? Are we incorporating joyful experiences? And 3, are we making sure that they are comprehending the information that's being read to them or that they are reading? I think the most important thing now for our children today is to do away with older techniques and think about really strong, innovative ways to incorporate technology, to incorporate audiobooks, to incorporate all kinds of different differentiated learning experiences for children to really be interested in reading. Because it's not a matter of if our kids understand, it's about boosting their confidence to make sure they know that everybody can be a strong reader, regardless of where they come from, regardless of where they started, but to know that they have support to really develop their reading, literacy, phonemic awareness skills. And thank you again for that question.
Thank you. She can only hear us if I hold this mic. So we're going to have to just not worry about this echo. 1 minute question. If you're worried about your question, she's going to show 30 seconds, she's going to show 15, and I'm going to nicely cut you off. How would you, as a board member, better support teachers with classroom management? 1 minute. Sure. Mr. Tavon, we'll start with you.
What's the question again? How would you?
How would you, as a board member, better support teachers with classroom management?
I would involve the entire community. A family participation needs to be in this. There's no way other to get around it. We have to get the families involved with our education of the children. For the better assist the teachers, bring the parents to school, let them get involved, encourage them to get involved with the children, let them participate in whatever activity if they can, but without the family, without the mother and the father being there to support the teacher, there's no way we can get it done. We need everybody, the teachers, parents, and everybody. Again, we need the entire community to be involved.
Thank you. All right, Tavon.
I think the question is, as a board member, you don't have that's not your role to support the teachers. The role that as board members that we will actually do, that we try to do, is work in conjunction with the superintendent that ensure that there are resources and support services that are readily available to the school, to the principals, further down to the teachers. But there are ways and initiatives that have been done. As I stated before, there's the reading writing initiative that's been launched within the different schools that you see. If I'm not mistaken, someone just spoke on how we have schools that have been taken off the comprehensive list. That's because of the reading writing initiatives and those levels of support services that are introduced into the schools that are being introduced to the teachers that help support them as well as the teachers and staff.
They didn't know your mic was on. They didn't know your mic was on. But the question is, how would you, as a board member, support teachers with classroom management?
Near and dear to my heart. Way back when I got my bachelor's in elementary ed, case management wasn't taught. You were thrown up there and learned by trial and error. And I think it's a big component. And again, I go back to discipline, not punishment. Understanding that children learn at different rates at different times, and being sensitive to their needs. But you can make classrooms fun, and you can teach. I had to sit next to the rowdy boys in school because I was so well behaved. And it wasn't too long, year after year, and teachers are still doing that. But there's a lot of creativity, there's a lot of ways to stimulate and excite kids about learning. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's still on.
Yes, I think I would be more in line to trust the superintendent with that mission, given what they should have, and give them that which is necessary to make that classroom work. I would trust my superintendent. I think that's the job of a superintendent, and the board should be able to see whether it works or not. I would take it to the superintendent.
Thank you.
Let me first say that I am not your usual or your normal board member, because all across the country now, in the United States, boards of education are changing. They're no more being traditional. The boards will have to be more involved with the superintendent to ensure that our kids are learning. That means we must give that superintendent a strategic plan on every academic level and put in benchmarks to ensure that that superintendent is progressing with our plan. That's important. When you talk about the classroom support, you're talking about everything. When I was on the board, it confused me because we had all these administrators downtown headquarters, and they're supposed to be a resource for the teachers, but they never made it to the classrooms.
As we get these next three answers, Mr. Baruti and Mr. Ozier, can you all head this way so you can ask a couple of questions, please? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking to the Zoom people.
We can't hear you. This mic is for Zoom, and this mic is for you all. It's on now.
Thank you. Can you all hear me now? Y'all can't hear me? Okay. As we get the rest of the three answers, as we get the next three answers, can Mr. Baruti and Mr. J. Ozier head this way? Thank you. So sorry.
Well, first, I think it's important to acknowledge that teachers are trained professionals, and that they, especially the ones that have some years under their belts in the classroom, I would trust their judgment with classroom management, and different teachers have different styles, and different students respond differently to different styles. I'll say I have an education degree, actually, although I didn't do my student teaching, and I haven't taught in a classroom, so I have all of the theory and not much practice, but I recognize that and really respect the people that do have that practice. I was also the director of North St. Louis Youth Build, which was a GED and construction training program, so I was essentially the principal, and there were times when students were either being disruptive or in one case threatening, and they ended up in my office. I think it's important for teachers to know that the board and the union has their back.
Mrs. Cousins is absolutely correct, of course she knows because she is on the board, that there's a very distinct line between board governing and administrative processes in schools. But a responsibility of the board would be to sanction, to review and sanction a good universal discipline policy that the district would follow through, that every teacher, every administrator would actually use in all of our schools to have our students succeed in classrooms. Teachers can't teach if children are disruptive. But as we look at what we can provide for students, it would be the board's obligation to be able to work with the superintendent and other administrators, parent groups, and the teachers union, and other leadership groups to be able to come up with a universal policy that would work for our school district. Discipline is an issue. Teachers are doing great and they're doing the best they can in some classrooms. Some are doing phenomenally well in other classrooms. Let's use our ideas to be able to get everyone on the same page.
Ms. AJ? Ms. AJ?
Yes, thank you for that question. I think the most important thing is to realize that a school board member's role is not to dictate what happens in the classroom day to day. And so it's important for school board members to hire a mission-aligned superintendent who believes discipline looks like what the community believes it looks like. And so that would be my first priority in figuring out how we can talk about discipline and management in the classroom. I think secondly is ensuring that our teachers feel adequately supported. And so what resources are we pouring into the classroom to ensure, one, that our teachers feel respected, but two, that they have autonomy to make decisions based on their professionalism and expertise. I think that it's important, again, to really just focus in on that mission alignment of the superintendent and what they believe is good discipline practices, and so that's then reflected in our classrooms day to day.
Thank you.
I'm going to let Mr. Ozier come up and ask the next question. We're going to stay with you, Miss AJ. You're next. We're going to get him a breakdown here. Here you go.
Thank you. The question I've just read in here, and I was pretty tired. I was just came from Jefferson City with 1,000 voters from all over the state of Missouri, because the our state legislatures, particularly the Republicans, want to take. We just passed the $15 an hour with sick leave, and they trying to overturn the vote of the people that all of us, many of us in here, we voted for throughout the state that was approved, and they trying to whitewash it or something. But anyway, the question that I would like to say to you, ask to you, is do you understand the responsibilities of the school board as opposed to the difference of the responsibilities of the school board and the superintendent? Is that clear?
Awesome. Thank you for that question. So what I understand the role of a school board member is to really govern the district effectively through fiduciary and financial responsibilities. And then the second main important role is hiring a mission-aligned and vision-aligned superintendent. The school board is to hire that superintendent to then effectively progress what those goals should be in the day-to-day classrooms and through their principals. And so it is not the role of a school board member to act as a superintendent or do the roles and duties of a superintendent. It is our role and our job, if elected, to make sure that we have, again, a mission-aligned superintendent who is doing the duties and making sure that those goals are met right at the school levels. I believe I just saw my sign, and so I'll leave it at that.
They have issues with my microphone tonight. Can you hear me? I mentioned in the previous question that there is a distinct role. Yes, the superintendent actually runs all of the day-to-day operations in all of the schools. The board selects the superintendent. They should have a unique relationship where they are constantly in conversation. But the board members monitor the progress of the superintendent. And that's done by data reports other avenues of being able to get individual concerns to the table so that we can address them. There is a very, very distinct line. The success of all of the schools should be based on a plan that comes from the superintendent and the leadership team. But that plan has to be reviewed by the board and then approved so that it can be actually implemented. So all of those things work together. And we have to, as a board group, we have to ensure that the progress of the school system is going forward, that we're always doing something to the benefit of for the benefit of our students.
AJ and Karen are right, and I'll just say ditto. There is a distinction between the board, which is responsible for governance and oversight and policies, and the superintendent, who is responsible for operations. And the board is a 7-person team that operates by consensus and works together with the superintendent to oversee the schools.
Test 1, 2. Once again, I'm a little different. I know the role of a school board member versus the superintendent. The superintendent runs the daily operations of the district. However, the school board must develop a strategic plan to learn our students. In that plan, it must show that superintendent's progress on a monthly basis. We can't wait for the end of the year to evaluate the superintendent to see how he or she has done. It's too late then. It's too late, and that 1 year of failure has cost the school system up in DESE to lower our scores. So across the country, school boards are changing. They're even telling school boards, the citizens need to start electing politicians who agree with you, because you're electing politicians that aren't supporting public schools. That has to change. Thank you.
One of the reasons that Bill Monroe is seeking a seat on this board is because the president and the vice president of this board needs to be replaced, as well as some other members who are taken by whatever falsehoods that are placed in front of them. There's a desperate need to change this administration. The president and the vice president must be voted out. And if you feel that
Difference between the school board.
I sort of answered the question the way I want to answer. The fact is,
you only got 10 seconds.
I'll answer the way I want to answer. The fact is, I'm campaigning to replace the president and vice president of the St. Louis Public School Board. That's it.
Testing 1, 2, 3. If you can hear me, do this. No, thank you. That's one of the things you can do with your kids to make it fun. Anyway, the board is limited to what the policy and procedure is. That doesn't mean we're not creative, we're not enthused, we're not concerned about our students. I'm running because I care. And I will say, my understanding is the vice president of the board is not running for re-election. I'm sitting next to the president of the board. She's been a longtime friend. She's never disrupted a public meeting of the board. And we need to come together. We need to come together and have more regardless, and I totally agree, we need to quiz our elected officials thoroughly about a lot of things. And certainly public education is one of them.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. The difference between the superintendent and the school board, just so people understand, the superintendent's job is the day-to-day operation of a district. Yes, our job as school board members is to implement policies, but we are also responsible for ensuring that the community is aware and other aspects of things that need to occur within the districts is happening. Some things that I don't think people are paying attention to is the legislative component of the district. It's the real estate component of the district. These are aspects and committees that board members actually sit on and have to put in the work to do and lean in and support the superintendent. Because academics is one component of the district, but there are so many other layers to what needs to be done to make the district successful. And for the record, I believe that our numbers have gone up based on what was read off the DESE report, so thank you.
Check, check, check. There's a saying that if you want something done right, do it yourself. Now, I'm sitting next to the president, and she just told you all what the difference is. I don't think I really have to express that because she knows more than I do. But I think we're missing the main issue here. The issue here is we have to be hands-on with our children. So regardless if the board governs policies or write policies and the superintendent manages it, we still need everyone on the board, including the superintendent, to be hands-on with our children. It's a new season, the children have new technology, and if we don't get involved with the children and understand what they're going through and connect with them, we're still gonna lose it regardless who sits in the seat and what we say defines the position. Put the man back in the home, strengthen the families, create the services for them, address their mental stability, and our children will flourish.
Is submitted by the community. It says, as a board member, how would you handle disagreements or conflicts with the community at board meetings?
So that's a great question. I actually I'm educated in public relations. I also currently work for Mission St. Louis on the Show Me Peace initiative, where we de-escalate and mediate gun violence in our community. How I would handle it? First of all, we adults, let's sit down, let's eat some food while we're talking, let's break bread, let's get to the truth of the matter. Let's be real with these are our children. These are not just some pieces of chess pieces. So how I would deal with it, again, let's figure out what every side wants, what it needs to grow, what works, what don't work. Let's be mature adults, look at it as children, and solve the problem.
Can you repeat that question one more time?
As a board member, how would you handle disagreements or conflicts with the community at board meetings?
Okay, that's a great question because you're saying at board meetings. And I think that the community needs to understand board meetings are just that. They're board meetings. The board meetings are for the board to conduct business meetings. Those meetings should be handled where we're actually conducting business. And I think that's where the community continues to kind of confuse the two. But how we are supposed to do it and what we've tried to do is hold what it's an opportunity for them to have public comment. The public comment is for them to do just that, provide input on whatever that particular day of that meeting, that topic is, that they can give input. We have tried to create a space for our community to have community meetings, for them to provide input at those meetings. And if we have discussions, then we give them the floor to have the opportunity to have those discussions. Other things that we've been doing as board members that I don't think has been done in the past is we're actually positioning ourselves to go to community meetings and actually have conversations with members within the community.
Again, can you hear me? Okay, I see a few people. I want to compliment the parents in the 1, 2, 3, 4th row at how well these children are putting up with all this adult conversation. You're doing a great job, and we appreciate them. They are 7 or 8 kinds of adorable. Now, as an educator and as a therapist, I've learned people want someone to listen, and that includes Bill Monroe. However, we need to have decorum at a public meeting, and having a meltdown is not going to bring decorum. One of the reasons I'm running is I want harmony on the school board, so we can act like adults and make adult decisions.
Thank you. What was that question again? What was the question again?
I'm sorry, Mr. Monroe, I have to make sure everybody can hear you all.
What was that question again?
As a board member, how would you handle disagreements or conflicts with the community at board meetings?
Well, I'm not a board member right now, but I can attest to how this board handles community at board meetings. And I'm grateful that Wash U law students have campaigned in my behalf and on behalf of another gentleman about the 14th and the First Amendment, okay? And handling the public at board meetings would be greater enhanced if you told the truth, if you used transparency, if you didn't have so many private meetings and try to do things out of the sight of the public, if you didn't have secret meetings, this board and the community relations would be a whole lot better. And I'm grateful that I got a reprieve about being banned for the night. So I'm here because I got a reprieve. Thank you very much to the security. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, thank you.
You know, if you think about it, it is something that President Cousins just said. The biggest problem with our Board of Education is they just didn't know. I don't know what kind of training they received, they just didn't know. In the board meetings, if a parent, if a concerned citizen comes up to that microphone to speak 3 minutes, if any board member wanted to respond to that person, they can, but they never do. I think we as a board need to look at responding, because that's all the parent wants to hear, that's all the teacher wants to hear. Just listen to what I'm asking and give me an answer. That's all it is. It's so simple. And I don't like to criticize anybody, because everybody has something going on with it. And you're going to do things the way you're going to do them. But our current board just does not have the knowledge to move forward.
I think it's important to have a clear statement of expectations and norms before the public comment section of a meeting, just like Ms. Rogers did for us today. It's essential for the community to feel welcome and genuinely invited to engage with the board, but at the same time, there are people that take advantage of that to pull publicity stunts at board meetings. There's an Arrested Development lyric. I don't know if anybody remembers this one, but it goes, "The shout bring about change, I doubt it. All shout does is make you lose your voice."
A lot of what my panel members have said stands firm and true. We have to have decorum at board meetings. There are processes to be able to, can you hear me? Testing. Okay, cool. A lot of what the candidates have said at this table are true. We do have to have board decorum. We have to have a process in place. Everyone needs to know what we're going to do. The audience has to be able to ask questions. We have to be able to answer them correctly. You're right. We do have to answer questions that people ask. We have to also be adult in the room, and we also have to be respectful. And each time that someone gets out of hand, we have to be able to, as board members, know how to be able to de-escalate the noise, so that we don't disrespect anyone in the audience. We have processes and plans in place, and we have things that we have to do. It is a business meeting, and we have to be able to follow through on that.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. 1 second. Apologies, I'm on 2 devices just trying to listen in. But I think the first thing is acknowledging and thanking the community for having those disagreements, because that means that they're engaged, it means they're involved, and it means that they care about their students and the district. And so as a board member, you cannot take personal offense or think that it's a personal attack. When people are challenging and disagreeing with your decisions and policies that you have in place. I think strategically though, one change is really re-looking at what that policy is for community engagement and what those public comments look like at board meetings. And so one of my ideas, if I'm elected, is to really engage citizens and community members in committee meetings. So we see this practice at the level of the Board of Aldermen. There's public comment for every single committee meeting with the goal of listening to the community before making decisions on behalf of the community. And so I believe that the school board should be operating in kind of a similar way and really trying to engage the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. As everybody answered the question wasn't talking about how we as board members were acting. It was the question of how to support the community when it's like yelling and all of that. So kind of really didn't get to the answer, but I hear de-escalation, confrontational training. I hear that, but I don't hear an answer when there is yelling, and what will we do to support that so that everybody can continue the business. Next question. This is a 2-part question, and it's yes or no. I'm sorry, Ms. Foster. I gotta put you over here. Thank you, Byron. I gotta put you over there, Ms. Foster. Sorry. They texted me saying they can't hear on the Zoom, y'all, so I was trying to put both of them together. Would you co-sponsor a resolution calling on WashU to pay at least $12 million in payments in lieu of taxes to SLPS? Part 1. Would you commit using payments in lieu of taxes from local institutions to fund a budget for social housing for SLPS students and families that are not securely housed? For example, opening more emergency and long-term 24-hour shelters. Ms. Adams, you're number 1. For example, opening not more emergency and long-term 24-hour year-round shelters. So basically, how would you support the unhoused in SLPS? That's the second question. Like in lieu of taxes, would you agree? So it's yes or no? You want me to ask it again? It is. That's why I said it's 2 yeses, 2 no's. So it's 2 questions. First question. Would you co-sponsor a resolution calling on WashU to pay at least $12 million in payments in lieu of taxes to St. Louis Public Schools? That's the first question. Second question. Would you commit to using payments in lieu of taxes from local institutions to fund a budget for the socially unhoused families of SLPS? Yes, no questions. That's what they have on the card, yes, no.
Number 1, the yes for WashU. But that has there are a lot more details to that question. And the second one, no, we are not in the business of providing social services in that manner. There's a lot more that has to be looked into before we can say yes to that.
Thank you. Mr. Marston?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, I'll go with yes, yes. I will say WashU does a phenomenal amount of good for our community. I happen to work there, but that doesn't mean that they can't do more. And $12 million, when you have an endowment of $12 billion, is a small number. And there are other universities that are in the same caliber as WashU do it, places like Harvard, Brown, Stanford. But again, WashU does already contribute $9.3 billion to the local economy, both directly and indirectly. I would include SLU with WashU also, because both of those universities play a role as developers outside of their educational role, and that should definitely be taxed. SLPS has around 3,600 homeless students, so it's critical to make sure that we address that.
You all might look like there's a time to move, but you only have 30 seconds and people forget to go. So that's why the time is going fast.
My answer to both questions is a yes, but I also think that the universities, because of the many properties they own throughout the city of St. Louis, they should be paying taxes. You know, it's just that simple. They need to pay their fair share, and so I'm in favor. I don't know about co-sponsoring because I'm not the smartest or the sharpest pencil in the box. Somebody else may have to sponsor it, and I can sign on to it. But it's a yes on both.
I would say yes on that first one. And for more than a decade, I'm going to answer that second one in my way. For more than a decade, Bill Monroe, by way of Harriet Tubman, has sought to take two vacant, crumbling, vacant school buildings in the black community and make homeless shelters. And there's money for it right now. You take one building, a homeless shelter for the girls. One building, a homeless shelter for the boys. And in these buildings, you have no time.
Yes and yes. And I'm going to take a moment to say I am an active volunteer with our Unhoused and have been for years. Our children need stability, and when they couch surf, are sleeping in tents, in cars, they're not achieving what they should be achieving, what they could be achieving in school.
Yes and yes. Actually, the district is working, there's not funding available, unfortunately, with the federal government that we're dealing with right now. Funding like that of that magnitude, if you all notice, is being cut. But we are moving in the direction. We have over 400 unaccompanied youth within the system for the district right now. And those are the things that we have been focusing on and trying to come up with creative ways per the citywide education plan. That's what we're trying to look at, ways to repurpose our buildings and make sure we're able to accommodate our unhoused youth.
I say yes and yes, but there are some questions. If funding is being cut, we have to be creative. Let's take some of the vacant buildings around the schools that we have here and change them into to bring in the unions and teach the children a skill in these vacant houses. So now we're fixing the vacancies in our city, and we still are dealing with the everything else in our neighborhood.
Thank you. I would say yes to question one, and yes to question two, again with the hope and goals that we would have co-sponsorship or more support from other local elected officials who are on board and support that bill as well. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Ms. Foster, keep your mic, again. There are numerous schools across the world. We had our own at Central VPA High School. What security measures would you put in place
2, and what follow-up support for traumatized students? So everybody except Ms. Cousins. There was a school shooting. What security measures would you put in place, and what follow-up support would you provide? Ms. Cousins, yours would be, what have you done since it has happened? Ms. Foster, and then Mr. Tavon.
Thank you. I would say to really implement what our community is doing. So whether that looks like community resource officers and mentors, really speaking and talking to our children. Because at the end of the day, this is about, as well as like mental health. And so I think really just getting to the bottom and having trained professional mentors who are community members, who are tied to the community, and specifically my preference would be that neighborhood as well, so they know the dynamics of their students that they're serving. And then the second part of your question, I believe I might have missed, but I think that would be one of my key goals, is to making sure again that our students are working with community members, especially at the intersection of what our community wants and needs. We've heard time and time again that we do not want police officers who are armed in our schools, but we need to keep our schools safe, and so really getting to the bottom and digging in. And then I think the second part is really supporting the social emotional learning piece, ensuring that we have trained counselors and professionals on staff and fully staffed at the district level. Thank you.
Thank you.
So one of my, the job I'm currently now, I manage the South Side with Show Me Peace. One of the most effective ways I've noticed in the community is that we utilize VIs, we call them, violence interrupters, who are from the neighborhood, and the relationship is built. So if we have that in the schools where these mentors that the children look up to are inspired by, then I like to say that because the crime is down 50%, I like to say I help with that, with the systems, and the wraparound services what the families need to address the trauma side of it. Bring in the specialists in the community. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's go to the families. Let's help the families get through this. I know it worked. I've been there. I've seen it. And I must say that it works.
That was a challenging day for the district as a whole, and we learned a lot. We took a lot away, we learned a lot, and I want to personally thank the safety officers that we have here tonight. And I want to make sure that I correct some things. We did the best that we could with what we had, and the officers, the teachers, they did an outstanding job considering the situation that occurred that day. And we've put a lot of measures in place. We put over $100 to $200 and some odd $1,000 in bringing upgrades into most of the systems within the district. We've gotten a lot of state dollars to ensure that we're providing the necessary safety plans. One of the biggest things that we worked on is the EOP, which is the Emergency Operation Plan for the entire district, and we're ensuring that we have mental health support for all of our students and families within the district. So these are services and programs that we're making sure that we're implementing throughout the district.
Thank you.
I was driving down Arsenal the day of the shooting and rerouted. The young man who brought his weapons into the school and killed that beautiful young girl and that devoted teacher, his mother had gone to the police with his arsenal of weapons and said, please take them, and they said, we can't. It's against the law. Jefferson City has decided that kids can't have their cell phones, but we don't have the gun control. So that's over and above what the board can do. And I commend everyone. The police were nearby that day, were there immediately, running in, reassuring people, reassuring families, getting the children down to the Schnucks parking lot, which was within walking distance. They did the best they could with what they had.
Thank you.
I want to thank God that the police were close by because they intervened and they stopped it. And they did what our security should have been trained to do, stop it. And I'm glad that the police came in, and had the police not came in and ran towards the danger, it would have been worse. Thank God for that. And as a former St. Louis police officer, detective of police, we got a long way to go to make our schools safe. And we got to listen to what comes at us, because there was some with the public schools that knew this young man was dangerous. And I think one of the security guards saw him come over the fence with the gun that day. It could have been stopped. And that's how I feel about it. Because it's up to you, security. If you're hired and if you have a weapon, you need to stop it. But having men run towards danger, that's a difficult situation. And I've been trained. And it's a difficult situation. And we feel our children.
You know, I can't speak to what's in place at the school district now, but we can always improve on anything that's existing. I was a security consultant in Las Vegas for 9 years, and I designed most of the special event security programs in Las Vegas, especially all the casinos on the Strip. So I would have to look at what's in place now, but I do know the shooting that happened at CVPA could have been prevented. Could have been prevented. And I think everybody associated with the schools realized that. And so we must do a better job in ensuring that the schools we are operating today has those necessary requirements in place. It is utterly important that we ensure the safety of not only our kids, but of our workers that's providing for those children. Thank you.
So, one of my closest, dearest friends is the chair of the math department at Central VPA. He hosted a Meet the Candidate gathering for me just last night, and I'm so glad that he's still here with us. But there is a teacher and a student from that school that aren't here. And you know, as far as what security measures should have been in place or how we can strengthen security, I don't know. That's not my expertise. I would defer to people who know more about that than I do. But when it comes to the follow-up support, that's a long-term thing, that mental health support, and it's not just for the people that were in that school that day, it's for the whole community. My friend Jason, he's got that teacher's name tattooed on his arm. That's permanent.
That was a day that we will always remember. I know it from the inside out. I want to say to the current board members that are sitting here, Ms. Cousins and the other board members that are here, they did an excellent job of providing the support, immediate support after that incident. And by the way, their support of that incident was recognized nationally. And I have friends that left, I'm originally from Heckford, that live all over the country, people that are administrators in other school districts, watch what St. Louis Public Schools did. The security officers that responded immediately, the one that was in the building that recognized something, that was able to get in touch with everyone immediately, did an outstanding job. Outstanding. And they continue to train and learn so that they can be certain that our schools are protected. But one thing everyone in this audience needs to know, and I can say this as a high school principal that has gone through something similar but not quite as tragic, we are never prepared enough for someone who is determined to come in to hurt us.
These next couple of questions are 15 seconds. I do apologize that some of you all did not answer that question. What would you put in place? You just kind of talked about how you felt about it. But next time, just kind of think about we know how you feel about it, but maybe
No. Adamantly no. I do not like this microphone. No. Charter schools, not if they're monitored differently than the general public schools.
That statement is false. About half of the charter schools that have opened have closed, and the ones that are open, by and large, don't have test scores that are any better than the public schools.
Yeah, I would be surprised if anybody up here would said yes, but that is a definite no. But the flip side of that is what happened in the county. It happened here in the city, and nobody said anything about it. Why would our school district, which is a failing school district, join a failed school district and expect a positive return? We never should have took on sponsorship of Confluence Academy. They have not made AYP since their existence.
Thank you. Before you all go on, there is a car outside running. It's a white Nissan, license plate, last three Z4N, first three XK7. Your white Nissan is outside running. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Monroe, go ahead. Does charter schools outperform public schools?
What does that statistic say?
You have the data. It's your answer.
No, I'm asking.
I'm not running for the board.
But you're asking a question.
Yeah, the community is asking.
The community.
Yeah.
No. But as the founder of, wow.
Yes, 15 seconds.
Write this down. I agree with Bill Monroe this time. No.
Thank you.
No, based on the data, they are not outperforming St. Louis public schools.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say no as well. However, if we don't put a plan in place, then as all businesses, we lose the race, but no.
Ms. Foster?
My response is no, charter schools are not outperforming St. Louis public schools.
Thank you. Ms. Foster, you can keep it. Next question. Lord, I done walked away. Oh, here they are. I'm sorry. Would you allow your kids and grandkids to attend high schools like Vashon, Sumner, and Roosevelt? 15 seconds.
Thank you for that question. I don't have any kids right now, but yes, I would. All of my family, my older generation parents and aunts have all graduated from Vashon.
Would you allow your kids or grandkids to attend high schools like Vashon, Sumner, and Roosevelt, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Monroe, give us this power share mic.
I'm going to beat him up on the playground. My children are grown and more mature than I am, but they did go to public schools. And part of the reason why I want to be on this board is to strengthen our public schools, to strengthen our communities.
I got grandkids and great-grandkids. And under the current situation, I would have to say no.
Due to the fact that all three of those high schools are failed institutions, I say no.
I'll say yes. I mean, finding the right school for your kid is a fit between the kid and the school. So it depends on the kid too, but there's no reason to rule those schools out.
Yes. Yes, because although someone just mentioned that they're on a failing list, if we don't choose to send our students to the schools, then how can we improve the school?
Thank you. I heard about the schools failing. I think Ms. Porter read that Roosevelt and Sumner were no longer comprehensive schools. So I think I heard somebody say that they're failing, but it looks like they came out of where they were at. Let's go, SLPS. Let's see. Last 15-second question. Will you work with St. Louis No Spray Alliance by sponsoring the Healthy Outdoor Parks and Public Spaces HOPPS bill in the city's Board of Aldermen? Yes or no? No Spray Alliance. Healthy Outdoor Parks and Public Spaces. You're first.
Is, if I'm right, that's the pest control. Yeah, I do support that tremendously.
Thank you.
I'm anti-pesticide. I've got kids. I don't want them playing around a playground with that on it. I don't know if it's the board's role to, like, what the right way is to make that happen, but I would like to see it happen.
Thank you.
Yes, I support it.
Thank you.
I would support it. I had two of my neighbor's dogs eat vegetation off the fence that they had sprayed. These dogs were about $600 a piece and they died. So they poisoned the vegetation. They didn't mean to do it.
I believe I answered this question at another forum. I have a butterfly garden and as many native plants as I can afford each spring in my backyard. I don't use anything other than my hands and a tool to weed. Yes, I support it.
Yes, I would support it. We actually can use that and move that as part of the legislative priorities. The district does work and have an environmental specialist that works as part of the district. So we move and make sure we address all the lead abatement and whatever environmental issues we may have within the district. So that's definitely something that we will be in support of.
Thank you.
Yes, I support it. As a 42-year vegan, there are creative ways that we can address this situation. I strongly support it. And this is the only time I'm gonna say where we support it for every school, whether you're charter, private, for any child environment, we should consider that. But I'm for public schools though.
Ms. Foster?
Yes. Sorry. Yes, I will support that. That it's important to make sure our students and our staff and families are safe. And I think that this also is in alignment with current legislation that has been passed at the district level around beautification and making sure our schools are healthy as well.
Thank you. Ms. Key, they're texting me saying that they can't hear the 2 on the end on YouTube. Thank you. Next question. The last person with the mic, Ms. Foster. This is back to 1 minute. All the 15 seconds are gone. 1 minute. Ooh. How will you help make sure students receiving special education services get the absolute best supports possible at SLPS? Ms. Foster?
Yes, thank you for that question. I think as somebody who has family in special education right now and have been advocating for support and resources from the district, I think one is making sure that our district and our admin staff are adequately staffed. So ensuring that we aren't just accepting students and taking students and having nowhere for them to go physically day to day. I think it's extremely important to make sure that a lot of the resources that are provided by the state, provided locally, are afforded to every single child within special education. And again, I think the biggest priority and the biggest problem and challenge that we are currently faced with is understaffing. And again, just that need and that care and support to want to serve special education students.
How would you help, Mr. Tavon, to make sure students receiving special education services get the absolute best supports possible at SLPS? Taking your time.
So this is where I say again, the wraparound services, the families, the fathers, the mothers, we have to incorporate the families in our children's education. If we don't have the families involved, then there's but so much that Ms. Tony and even their board and the superintendent can do, what I believe. So participation from the families, wraparound services, let's bring in those specials in the community that can address the situation. It's education for our children. It's not like it's rocket science. We all have children. We all know what they need and how to deal with that. So let's just come together collectively and provide the service for our families.
Thank you.
There is a huge need and gap in regards to special needs, in regards to the finance aspect of it. That's one of the most challenging things that the district and the city is facing right now, but we are working the best we can. We are absolutely understaffed. That's not, the salary is an issue. That's one of the things that we're trying to work on, ensuring that we can get adequate staff to pay them the adequate salary that they need for them to come, because we're in competition with what's going on in the county when it comes to special needs. We do have a system in place. There's work that needs to be done to perfect that system, but one of the biggest challenges, like I said, two things you have to look at is the finance aspect of it as well as the staffing aspect of it. But we are trying to work and do the best that we can in ensuring that we have the necessary resources and support needed to ensure that the families and the children have what they need to move that process along.
Will you all turn the mics up, please, when they talk, because we can't barely hear them. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay, I agree with so much of what Tony has said. Diagnosis is important. I had a little boy my first year of teaching who was a behavior problem. I had him in class for 3 months before I knew that he was supposed to be wearing glasses that his parents didn't put on him. I finally went to the school principal and said, this child needs to be tested. Special school district, back then they called it an IEP, gave the parents responsibilities. Years later, I was working at a hospital and he came in for his Haldol shot. He had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. Diagnosis is important to rule out and to understand behavior and learning problems and get them the resources they need.
Thank you.
I'm beginning to think resources, because why wouldn't the superintendent assign more staff to monitor this situation? It takes human hands-on with our children. And I think we have to take advantage of that. And I think this superintendent made $260,000 a year. Give some of this money to our children's help.
Thank you.
The St. Louis Public Schools, as far as I know, and I'm 67 years old, they have had a horrible time in providing IEP for needed students. Horrible job. Now, that they're shorthanded, that's only one of the problems. The problem that I saw in some of the other former board members is, once again, we have to go back to a strategic plan by the Board of Education to give to the superintendent. If that superintendent is unaware of our IEPs, he or she is not going to address it. When they hire a superintendent, the superintendent doesn't come to the school district with a plan. He or she has no idea what our system is. And so we have to give a structured, strategic plan to that superintendent with benchmarks to make sure that's going to happen. Thank you.
There are 2,596 students in SLPS right now with IEPs, so we need to hire more special education teachers. The ones that we have are overloaded. I was talking to the special education teacher at Central VPA yesterday, and there's a lot of paperwork that goes into each case, and she has a lot of cases.
That's right.
There are also legal requirements around special education, so we're getting into lawsuit territory if we're not providing those services for the students who qualify. It's just critically important that all students get the support they need to thrive.
There were a couple of things that were addressed. Ms. Cousins is absolutely on point when she mentioned the finance situation of it and not having it the classrooms understaffed. There's a teacher shortage, a paraeducation shortage, paraprofessional shortage all over this country, and that includes St. Louis Public Schools.
Right.
The funding source for special education comes from the federal government to the state and then to the local school districts. Those funds are allocated in a certain way based on those IEPs and the services that would be provided to students. So looking at all of those things to be able to determine what our students need is not just a function of the school district, but it would be approved by the board to be able to allocate those funds in the proper manner. I think as a board member, it's going to be very, very helpful when I become a board member to have an expert on the team that is a special educator. My doctorate is in special ed. And I follow the law, so I know that what our students actually need and the services that can be provided. They are doing the best they can right now.
Thank you. This last question is 30 seconds, and then I'm going to, if you all don't mind, I think if you sign in and put your email, I think I'll type up these questions and send them to the candidates so y'all can see their answers. But this last question, Ms. Gloria, is 30 seconds. Ms. Adams, you're first. Just to reiterate, the question asks, what did you all have in place? What was the plan? We heard a lot of complaining and what we need, but we didn't really hear a lot about what support you would put in place. But how do you plan to keep our community focused on continuous sports for the wonderful athletic achievements of all SLPS students at each school, but not including combining the teams? The athletics. For example, Vashon's basketball team is amazing.
Yes, it is.
How would you continue to support what the babies are doing at the different locations?
That's a PR platform. We need to be able to communicate that to the general public. We need to celebrate the success of all of our students in any way possible. We don't isolate particular schools because that one school is doing great. We celebrate the success of all of our students. We have to do a better job of being able to communicate to all of our parents, community leaders, and the people outside of our community, because that's the only way we're going to grow with greatness nationally. Our athletes leave here to become great someplace else. We have to support that.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I would like to see strong athletic programs at all the schools, along with strong band programs and strong extracurricular programs in general.
Yes.
Right? As far as the band programs, we're really down to one band or one school that actually attends out-of-state competitions. And so there's multiple forms of intelligence. You know, some kids are really good at the academics, some are good at music, some are good at sports, and I think it's important to support them wherever they are.
Thank you.
You know, once again, you've heard several different people up here talk about it, especially the sitting board members now talk about resources. You know, I think we forget. This district has $240-something million sitting in their reserve that they can spend however they want. Remember, there's over 1,700 learning programs in this district. And if you ask any of the board members, they couldn't even tell you what they are and if they're working.
Thank you.
You have to ask the tough questions.
Thank you. Well, the question was asking how would you plan to keep our community focused on continuous sports, not what's wrong with it, but how would you help it continue to thrive?
Well, I saw something the other night, and there was a couple of basketball games that were canceled. Okay, and when you ask that question, what comes to my mind, and you have the type of resources that we have monetarily, and if I were to hold a basketball game, I would combine the resources of our security and the local police to put a ring around this school if we had to, so our parents and children and everybody can come into this school safe.
Thank you. Ms. Powers?
I grew up in community-based schools. I walked to and from school. My mother was at home to feed us lunch. And the closest we come to that now, people associated with Vashon should know. We've got 3 schools now, Dunbar Elementary, Vashon, and the community college within walking distance of one another.
Trifecta.
Another is the reuse of empty school buildings to build community. And something I'm very concerned about is the lack of music and art and PE.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. Thank you.
This was actually part of the conversation last night at the work session meeting that we had. One of the things that we're actually looking to do is do an overhaul of all things sports, not just the sports components, but also the bands, the middle school sports, things of that nature. So we're looking, the board kind of asked for the district to look to do a better assessment and see how do we ensure that we're bringing the community along for the ride. So there will be a lot of community events that's being held to ask for more input on topics such as that.
Thank you, Ms. Cousins.
Sports play an important role in our children's lives. Competition is also a healthy thing when properly executed in our children's lives. They actually help a lot of de-escalation and mediation. I would like to see the children use technology to kind of spearhead the sports. Let them get involved with it. Let them lead it and have a organization amongst themselves. They are keen on technology. They got their phones everywhere. They can promote the sports themselves, and then they will be involved with it, and they will even own that confidence and ownership that requires to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Ms. AJ, I don't know if you can see it, but you all have 30 seconds.
Okay, I believe I missed part of the question, but so the 2 parts to my answer, I think one is, again, someone said it is the PR, so making sure that our families are informed about all of the successes that are happening across the district in every school. And so whether that looks like implementing more spotlights in newsletters that are going out to families, I think that's a great way to kind of begin that and push that forward. And then the second part is level setting with our community members and families to say, hey, it isn't just sports, but we might have robotics clubs and competitions that are happening. We have debate competitions. I graduated from a high school where sports was not a top priority, but it was important. Thank you.
Even though we're out of time, we're going to give you all 15 seconds to go ahead and close. Ms. Foster, since you have the mic, can you go ahead? Let us know something about you, what you have, a plan that you have.
Awesome. Thank you. Again, my name is AJ Foster, and I'm definitely happy to be here with you all. I think my 3 priorities are ensuring our financial future for the district, centering our students in teacher and family experiences. And the third is really getting back to figuring out what our collective power is as a community. I plan to do this through supporting and looking at equitable contract procurement and making sure that all of our contracts have outcomes based. So thank you again.
Appreciate you. Mr. Brooks,
Thank you.
15 seconds.
So I'm here to just learn and be transparent to you all. You all need someone to represent you all highly. A lot of us don't know what Ms. Tony goes through behind the scenes. So I feel like we can throw stones and say whatever, but until we really in the seat can we do the job. I'm here to learn and be transparent to you all and assist the other board members to make this work for our children.
Thank you.
I'm here to continue to try to move the needle forward for the district, to focus on the safety for the students, to ensure the academic growth continues, and to move forward and look into what it's going to take in regards to this Project 2025 and the effects that it's going to have on the district as a whole.
Thank you.
I have experience that would be very valuable to the school board. Plus, I care. People I've worked with often comment, she cares. Like that's amazing. But I do care.
Thank you.
And I value our children.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
This is Bill Monroe, and I'm here to unseat his cousins and some other people on that board that needs to go so that our children can come into a learning process.
Thank you.
My name is David Jackson, and I'm asking for your vote on April the 8th. I'm here to bring cohesiveness to the board and to bring a historical component to the board so we can move our district forward. We've got less than 3 years before the state said they're going to step in and take our school district.
Thank you.
I support public schools. This room is what community looks like. You're at the right forum, and I have a trunk full of yard signs in the parking lot. Brian H. Marston.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Karen Collins Adams. I'm here to bring an expertise to the board in education, policy, school finance, and then just general community support for the things that our children need. It's important that we support them first and with a plan of improvement. Thank you.
We want to thank everyone for coming. We appreciate the support and dedication from the candidates, knowing that the community is ready to choose somebody and people, some those people to help support our community, our students, us as co-workers, and our families. So I'm going to call up Miss Carolyn so that she can come on and get us up out of here. Once again, thank you all for coming. We will be out of here. We're leaving out of here. So I understand we want to have conversations, but we need to be out of here by 8 o'clock. In the midst, hold on 1 second, Byron. 1 second, please. In the midst of that, we have, Ben, you said keys, and what else?
A black earpod and a set of Toyota keys.
Thank you. Let's please give it up for the candidates. Let's welcome them and thank them for coming. We really appreciate you all supporting public schools. She's going to play us out real quickly.
Again, thank you. Again, thank you for this forum. Thank you for the leadership. Thank you for those in the community that came out tonight. I'm going to pray us out. Gracious Father, thank you for making this evening successful. Thank you for the time that we shared, for enabling us to just be productive tonight. And all that has been discussed, Lord, let us bear fruit and impact the lives of others as we go. God, give us traveling mercies. Be with us. Let us go to our individual destinations and find that all is well. And these blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.